What's going on, bottom line viewers? It's Mitch here, live on a Saturday night, here to go over your fantasy football week 5 of 2020 questions, and also a Q&A where I answer your start and sit questions, potential trade questions as well in regards to fantasy this week. So guys, get in that comment section. Also, Gronk, spike the like button. And if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel for weekly fantasy football stardom and situm and Q&A every Friday, Saturday. I typically do this video on Saturday, right the day before. And especially because of this weird 2020 season, it's better to get the questions answered as close to the date as possible. So that's the way I'm going to lay it down. All right, so the way I'm going to do it this week is a tad different. So I'm going to go over the start and sit questions, as I always do, from the video on Thursday. So I drop a video every Thursday giving you my starts and sits, and a majority of the questions that I answer are from that video, okay? But I also will answer your questions in the live chat after I answer these questions. But what I'm going to do this week is, instead of just answering the question in the video, just in case they have not tuned into the actual video itself, I'm also going to reply at the same time. So I'm going to do this live. I'm going to give a live reply on the phone here to the question while I answer it to you guys. So hopefully I partly answer your question by answering another person's question. All right? So before we get started, Gronk, spike that like button and make sure you do subscribe. All right. So let's start off with Ben, who asks, I'm starting the Colts defense, but I'm also starting Kareem Hunt. Will that be a problem? Now, preferably, that's not the greatest thing to have, a starting quarterback, running back, wide receiver versus your defense, but you can't always avoid it. So I'm going to say you can't always avoid it, but it's not preferred. So hopefully that helps you, because that's kind of more of a strategy question. That's not necessarily like a start or sit question. It's more of a strategy question. Guys, don't really worry about it. Don't worry about starting, a quarterback or a running back if you have the defense. Like, who cares? You would prefer that your opponent has the defense, but at the end of the day, who cares? Like, for example, this week I had David Montgomery and I had the Tampa Bay defense, but I was hoping both would do well. Now, that wasn't the case, but Tampa Bay's too good of a defense for me not to sit them, and Montgomery was my starting running back. So what was I going to do in terms of that situation? So the second question is from 1,000 subs with no videos. Well, congratulations for having 1,000 subs, but yet no videos. I cut the LA Rams defense to get the Patriots defense when I could have got the Cardinals defense. Good move or no? I like the Pats defense the most. So hopefully that answers your question. Pats over Rams and Cardinals. But for the entirety of the season, Patriots definitely do have the best defense. They've already played two of their toughest matchups to the Chiefs and the Seahawks. He also asks, is A.J. Brown healthy? If not, I start Preston Williams, Austin Hooper, Mike Gesicki, or sign Sammy Watkins for my flex spot. Now, I've never been a Sammy Watkins guy in fantasy just because of the unpredictability of what he gives you each and every week. So I'm staying away from that. I'm not sure about A.J. Brown. I'm not sure if he's going to be playing or not. I'm not sure about that Titans game. I'd probably stay away, to be honest with you. If you're not going to start A.J. Brown, I would go with... That's tough. Not Hooper. Williams has been very inconsistent. I think I would go with Gesicki. honestly. Next question comes from Orlando Cruz. Pete Carroll is the oldest coach in the NFL. That's actually not true. Romeo Crennel is older. So that's your real answer. Ronald types in all caps. At flex, need one. Latavius Murray, T. Higgins, Dalton Schultz, Brandon Cooks, or Zach Moss. I'm thinking Murray. So Murray had a pretty good game last week. But you got Higgins, you got Schultz, you got Cooks, you got Moss. So looking at those options, I think it's honestly between Latavius Murray and Schultz because of the inconsistency of Cooks and because Moss I don't think is fully healthy and hasn't really been given a good enough role to start. So I'd probably say go with your gut and start Murray. He also asked Jonathan Taylor or Chris Carson. Taylor's playing the Browns. Carson is playing the Vikings. Carson is more involved. I think he plays, or he's been better this season. But Taylor has the better matchup in my opinion. It's a tough question. I'd like to start both. Ooh, Taylor or Carson? I'm going to say Carson just because he's been playing better. All right. Next, same guy, Ronald. Need two at wide receiver. Justin Jefferson, Will Fuller, A.J. Brown, C.D. Lamb. Standard scoring. I'm going Fuller. Touchdown machine this year. And I am going, Justin Jefferson or C.D. Lamb. That's tough. The two rookies. Head to head. Where do you go there? I would go, man, it's pretty much like who's going to score a touchdown. I'm going to say Jefferson. Man, that's actually really hard. Like, I would like to start both, to be honest with you. Jefferson's probably going to have to keep up on the scoreboard, right? And he's playing. Yeah, I'm going to go Jefferson. Playing a bad secondary. Going to have to keep up on the scoreboard. So, yeah, that's my call. Next question is from Kevin Durkant, the man himself. Chark, Fuller, or Cup? PPR, and do I flex Gibson over the two others you don't choose? So I think between those three, I'm going Fuller and flex Gibson. I do like Gibson quite a bit. I think I would, Durkant. I think I would start Gibson and Fuller. He also asks, should I go forward with starting Le'Veon and BLV, or should I wait another week? Durkant, if you could let me know what your other options are, that would be helpful, but I would say try to sit Le'Veon if you can, would be my answer. So that answers Durkant. Durkant, let me know on that one. Connor says Danny Dimes or Teddy B. Teddy is safer for sure. Danny has more upside. So I think honestly Teddy though, just because you never know what you're going to get from Danny Dimes because he's just all over the place. Like he could have a great matchup on paper that is Dallas and still not perform. Start Damian Harris or Joshua Kelly from Alyssa. I think I answered her question on Twitter. But if I didn't, I like both of them, but I think Kelly being the main starter and probably getting the most touches on the Chargers, I'd go with Kelly, even though the matchup is harder. Joe says, tight end, who should I start, Ertz or Smith? Now, as far as I've heard, Jonnu Smith is good to go. Am I wrong there? I gotta always check. I don't even know if the game's going to happen, though, to be honest with you. And seeing, I think it's going to happen, but seeing as Ertz is just like the same level, maybe a step below of Jonnu right now, I'd probably just go with Ertz. I don't see the risk being worth it. And Buffalo's a tough matchup. Caps fan says Daniel Jones better play better or he will be benched like Haskins. I'll just say maybe. Chris asks, do you like Big Ben over Breeze? Big Ben, I like them to win this week over the Eagles. Breeze versus the Chargers, it's not the easiest matchup, but Breeze looked a lot better last week. I think I do. I think I like Ben over Breeze, so I'm going to say yeah. NH says, I picked 2.5 point PPR McLaurin, the new quarterback, Justin Jefferson, playing a bad pass defense, Calvin Ridley, Goose Egg, Deontay Johnson, John Brown, T. Higgins. So definitely not T. Higgins. Probably not John Brown. That leaves you with Deontay Johnson, Calvin Ridley, Jefferson, McLaurin. Now, I want to say McLaurin because he's just been amazing in this season in terms of production and consistency. Ridley did put up a goose egg, but I think he's in a bounce back spot. So I'm going to say Ridley for sure. And then it's kind of between McLaurin and Justin Jefferson. I would go McLaurin, honestly. Yeah, he's just more reliable than Jefferson. Like, Jefferson's been great these last couple weeks. He does have a better matchup, but it's Terry McLaurin. Like, I trust me, I have McLaurin in my biggest league, so I've been tracking him like every week. The guy has been you gotta start him, especially with Kyle Allen, right? Who he's just gonna feed the ball to his number one and his running back. Like, that's all he's gonna do. That's what he did in Carolina, so that's what I'm counting on. He's in the same offense. Truth asks Melvin Gordon or Will Fuller. Bro, I love Will Fuller this week. I think Gordon doesn't have a great week, so I'm going Fuller. I'm high on Fuller right now. He has great matchup after great matchup. And last week he showed up. He should have had 2 touchdowns, to be honest with you. This week, I think he's going to put up more touchdowns. CJ Henderson's on IR, so. Benjamin says, few questions. Devontae Freeman or Harris? I would go Harris there. Then you have pick 1, Jefferson, Higgins, Fuller, Lamb, Debo. So not Debo, so it appears that he might not play. Higgins, Jefferson, Fuller, Lamb, Deontay. Wow, you got a lot of good. Not Debo, not Higgins. It's between Lamb, Jefferson, and Deontay Johnson. I like all of them. And Fuller. Damn, man. That's tough, Benjamin. But you got a lot of good options there. AX3 says 4-0 in my league. Thanks to you. That's pretty cool. Thank you. Alex says, just traded Tyler Boyd for Jonathan Taylor in full PPR. Did I win? I'm going to say, yeah, you won. It's hard to get running backs like Jonathan Taylor, even though he's not performing to that. Nick Chubb? Wait, drop Kenyon Drake for Chubb. Yeah, I mean, isn't Chubb coming back now? I don't know the update on his injury. So let's check that out for a second. Do my little research here. He is coming back, though. Browns are cautiously optimistic that running back Nick Chubb didn't severe a serious injury. What do we got? He has an MCL injury, but how long is it? It's not season ending. I don't think I would drop him yet. Because not yet, but if you can wait a couple weeks, then yes. Patriots or Rams defense? As Aiden, I would go with the Pats. Pats defense should have a big game versus the Broncos. Drew Sample for Greg Olsen. Those are tough options, bro. Griff says, I'm in a dilemma right now. I don't know who to start as my flex between Justin Jefferson or Antonio Gibson, or do I bench Kenyon Drake and start both Jefferson and Gibson? Yes. Bench Drake. That's what I would do. Miss Sharon's funny. Miss Sharon's the GOAT for the donation, by the way. Everybody say thank you, Miss Sharon. Jude says, how do you like my trade? Half PPR, DJ Moore, Kareem Hunt, David Johnson, Hayden Hurst for Aaron Rodgers, Devontae Adams, Darren Waller, Ronald Jones. I think I like the Devontae Adams side. Ultra, did you end up accepting my trade, by the way? Nicholas said that everyone should start Anthony Miller, and he kind of sucked. So there's that. So I'm going to respond to Nick saying cold take. All right, so those are the questions in the Stardom Situm chat as far as I've seen them. Maybe there's been a new one. Let's see. Okay, so we have some here. Damn, you guys. You can just ask them live here. Party says Harry, Beasley, Renfro, or Judy. Chark, Cup, Edelman. Choose two. I'm going Chark and Harry. Although I think Judy will get the most looks, but I don't know how effective he's going to be. Bus says, okay, I have two. Chark or Deontay Johnson, and Chark or Juju. Ooh, bro. Chark was on fire last week. This should be This should really be both, but you got good options, Bus. You're gonna sit Juju? Juju's kind of unsittable, isn't he? That's tough, man. I think I would go. Let me check real quick. Is Deontay Johnson healthy? Doesn't appear that he's going to play, at least from Wednesday's report. So I would go Chark over Deontay for sure. But I'd go Juju over Chark, I think. Just because of consistency. Juju is more reliable. So I'd probably go with Juju. Fantasy Football Shark asks Jefferson, Parker, or Kelly at flex, non-PPR. It's tough to sit Jefferson right now, man. It is. Kelly's a good non-PPR option, though. So I think you would eliminate Parker there. I think it's between those two. I think Kelly is probably the best bet, but Jefferson has the most upside. That's how I'd answer that question. All right, so those are those questions. Let's get to the live chat, guys. Let's get to the live chat. So if you guys have any questions, leave them right now, and I'll get to them. So Deshaun asks, Murray versus the Jets defensive team. I would start Murray, yeah, if that's what you're asking. Huck says Hollywood or Juju and Taylor or Gordon. I would go Taylor over Gordon, and I would go Hollywood or Juju. Hollywood definitely has more upside, but he's been very inconsistent. Juju has been consistent, so I would go with Juju there. Preto says, who to start for flex? Antonio Gibson, Bell, or Robbie Anderson? Sorry, Robbie Anderson. Is this PPR? I want to say Robbie Anderson if it's PPR. Number 2, wide receiver 2, Jefferson or Parker? I would go Jefferson. Shelton says Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs or Dak and Gallup. I would go Allen and Diggs. Eric says, how good of a player should I give up for Kyler? My quarterbacks are Brady and Bridgewater. I wouldn't give up anybody. I would just pick the best matchup each week between the two players. I think based on my start sit, you should have started Bridgewater, but I mean, if you started Brady, wasn't the best week for him, but Boyd or Harrison standard? Probably Harris. Fantasy Football Shark says CeeDee Lamb, Kelly, or Devontae Parker. I answered that question. You should be getting the notification, but I said Kelly. Scrolling back, Alyssa said the only time Edelman scored 20 points is when I benched him. You benched him versus the Seahawks? That's not great. I don't know if I should start him tomorrow. Yeah, I would have the same. I actually don't own Edelman in any leagues except for best ball leagues. So, yeah, I'm not really in that boat with you. Actually, I do. I own him in one league, I think. Is it Bottom Line View League? Sorry, I'm in a lot of leagues. But I wouldn't start him if I don't have to, just because I project the game to be fairly defensive. And in those kind of games, Edelman's not as involved as he used to be with Brady. And seeing as how it's Stidham does have a pretty good relationship with N'Keal Harry, so I kind of expect that Harry will be the number one in the game versus the Broncos. That's just my guess. I did answer your question on Twitter, though. Katie says, I got the Giants defense, and who should I start, Dalvin Cook or Zeke? Whoa, Katie, what are you, in a 2-person league, Katie? How do you have Zeke and Dalvin Cook? But I would go, it's tough to sit Dalvin Cook right now. The guy has been unbelievable. So I would go Cook, even though Zeke has a great matchup too. Can you start both? Braden says, who's better, Tampa or the Patriots? I'm going to say New England. Fantasy Football Shark says, it was a different question, but sorry, I know it was similar. Oh, it was different? I think it was the same. You sure? It looked the same to me. Maybe I'm crazy, but. Nicholas says, still got a dub though, Mitch. Beat the Bucks 4-1. Congratulations, Nick. I know you're feeling yourself at 4-1. Hopefully you guys can make it to the playoffs, and hopefully the Bucks can play the Bears again and have another good game. Mr. MC says, any good running backs I can trade Mixon for? I have Josh Jacobs, by the way, PPR. Any good running backs I can trade Mixon for? Oh, you want to trade Mixon? Good question. Let me see. So I think Mixon is somebody that if you're going to trade him, you want to trade him right now. So that's a good idea. I'm just going to see across a couple of my leagues, like, who would be good targets. Honestly, if you could get, I know he's been injured, but James Conner is somebody that I think is just going to be consistent and you can rely upon. I don't think anyone's trading you Kamara. If you could somehow get Zeke, but I don't know. I would just be fielding offers. If I could put like Mixon and another player that maybe I don't necessarily need for my starting lineup for like one of these big time backs, then it may be worth it. I'm looking across here. I mean, keep track of the McCaffrey news for sure. Keep track of the Chubb news because that could make Kareem Hunt more valuable. Clyde Edwards-Helaire is, if you could get him for Mixon, I would probably do that. What else? You have Jacobs. Aaron Jones, obviously, would be somebody I would be targeting. But again, like, the names I'm throwing out here are not guys that are Derrick Henry, Jonathan Taylor, guys that I would look at. If you could trade Mixon for Jonathan Taylor, I would do that. That might be more of a 1-for-1. Yeah. I mean, there's not many guys. It's hard to trade for a running back right now because there are not a lot of good options. Bus, I answered your question, Bus. Juju or Chark? Oh, CD, Kelly, and Parker. And it's what? It's non-PPR? It's PPR. Yeah, Nick, I remember. I'll pay up if it happens. I have no problem with that. Put it in your piggy bank. Mark says, should I start third and Renfro or Godpool? Who's third? Somebody called third? Marquise Brown? Or is that who it is? Who's the third? I'm blanking on it right now. Isaac says, man, I'm in a 10-player league, and it was auction, and only 3 people were inactive. I ended up with Adams, Julio, Tyreek Hill, D-Hop, and Amari Cooper. Another guy got Dalvin Cook, Kamara, and CMC. Whoa, Isaac loaded at wide receiver. Bristian, what's up, man? LGR Dub, what's up, bro? It's non-PPR, says the Shark. I like Kelly. I know he has kind of a tough matchup, but the Saints haven't been as tough. I mean, Eckler's not there. I know Justin Jackson's there, and I know people are concerned about that and the fumbles. But Kelly's not a bad receiver. He is a very good runner. I think the game's going to be closer than people expect. I like CD a lot, but in non-PPR, you need to have a big-ass game. Like, if you don't score a touchdown as a receiver, running backs are better because Kelly is probably going to score a touchdown versus the Saints. I mean, that would be my guess. So I think Kelly is honestly a pretty good start this week and for the next few weeks while Eckler is out. I've been impressed with watching him, even though he has had his struggles. I wouldn't really worry about that too much. But I do really like CD. It's tough to sit CD for sure. Alyssa says Melvin Gordon the third. Good. That might be it. Revise says second flex spot. McKinnon, Ward, or Tim Patrick. I think I'd go McKinnon there. Bus says, Mitch, I know you answered my question, but should I maybe put Thielen on the bench and maybe have Chark, or is that too much? You can't really go wrong, Bus. Like, if Chark were to outproduce Thielen, I wouldn't be surprised. But because it's going to be a game versus the Seahawks and they have a terrible secondary and a game where the Vikings will have to pass the ball, I would start Thielen. I don't see the point in sitting Thielen. I think the question you asked is Chark or Juju. And I know you're a Steelers guy, so you probably want to start Juju. But, yeah, it is close. Like, I could see Chark out producing Juju. If you want to go for the home run hit, Chark's definitely probably more of a home run guy. But I do think the Steelers are going to put up points on the Eagles. So I think Juju is just the more consistent option. We've seen Chark. He had a big game, but he's also had games where he was just all right. So I think Juju's been more consistent to me. Trade Kareem Hunt for Todd Gurley and Kenny Golladay. I don't want any piece of Gurley. I'm sorry. I just don't. Fantasy Football Shark says, thank you. Love it. First timer here, but I like what I'm seeing. Thank you. Appreciate that. Randomness says, Golladay has 23 points in 2 weeks in my league. Yeah, Galladay's been pretty good. Ben says, I know I'm not really a starter sit question, but is Chris Carson or Kareem Hunt a better RB2? It depends on the Chubb injury. If Chubb is out long-term, then Hunt is better. But if Chubb is ready to come back within the next few weeks, I think Carson is better. So it's kind of a tricky question. But I think that it really does have that variable of Chubb in there. LGRW, Mitch. Perryman or Higgins? Oof. Can I pick neither? I want to say Higgins, but that's not an easy answer at all. Yeah. What is I'm sorry. I've not been paying attention to Perryman at all. So Perryman's matchup is better. He is also, is he doubtful? He's doubtful. So he's not even probably going to play. He's done nothing for a while. So, yeah, I think it's Higgins. Noah says start A.J. Brown or Robert Woods. I'd go Robert Woods. Buzz says PPR, Higbee or Schultz. Oof. I think Schultz, man. I think so. Higbee's been frustrating. Should you start Renfro or Chase Claypool? Probably Renfro. I mean, Claypool could outproduce him on a few big catches, but that's not reliable. Third is Renfro. Okay. Isaac says, by the way, brother, I need to choose between Gesicki, Fant, and starting 3 from Henry, Gurley, Johnson, and Mostert. I'd go Henry and Johnson for sure. And it's between Gurley and Mostert. I think Gurley because he is starting to get those red zone touches, and it should be a high-scoring game. So I'd go Gurley just because Mostert's injury. And then between Gesicki and Fant. I think Fant, even though I don't love the matchup, Gesicki has just been completely unknown. So McKinnon or DJ Moore? Oh, man. This is a game time decision for me, Terrell. I think if McKinnon is the pure starter and Mostert is somehow out because he is a game time decision, you start McKinnon. If McKinnon is seeing a split with Mr. Mostert, then I would go with Moore. Le'Veon, McKinnon, or Henderson? Henderson is so unpredictable. So unpredictable. But I don't like Le'Veon right now. I just don't want to play him. So I'd pick McKinnon and Henderson. Kamara or Jacobs? You got to start Kamara. You got to. You got to. Revise says, who is better, Stash Ward or Mike Williams? Probably Williams. Shark says, Moore, Robbie, or Boyd? Sorry for all the questions. Robbie. Randomness says, Higbee will have a great game, and then he's get like 20 yards the next game. Yeah, that's true. Bob says, pick 3, OBJ, CD, Deontay Johnson. Deontay Johnson looked like he might not play, or it's in doubt Hollywood, Debo. So I would go OBJ, CD, Hollywood. Surprise. That's not a question. Fantasy Football Shark says, I already answered that. Nicholas says Chanel or Brandon Cooks. Chanel, probably. I mean, he's been more involved. Is Tim Patrick for real? I'd like to say no, especially this week, but who knows? Ultra says Robert Tonyan, another guy you should pick up. Drop Noah Fant for Tonyan. Ooh, I don't know. Standard. Fant hasn't been that bad, but because Tonyan is in that Green Bay offense, it might be worth it. But Adams is coming back soon, so that's going to take a significant red zone looks away from Tonyan. I think Fant will be more involved, but I think Tonyan is kind of more of the upside option. So depending on which one you want is the direction I would go. Renfro or Hilton? Hilton has been so bad. But Renfro, I would go Renfro, to be honest with you. Slayton or Marquise Brown? Hollywood. But Slayton might have a big game. Nathan says, is Mixon a start this week? I wouldn't call him a start, but I wouldn't call him a sit either. So it's kind of tough to sit him unless you have unreal questions. OPM says, is Mitch real? Yes. Random says, I mean, Tim Patrick for 10 points in week 3 and 4 got 17 points. Maybe he's Jerry Rice 2.0. Who knows? All right, guys. If you enjoyed this Q&A, Gronk Spike the like button and subscribe to the channel for more fantasy football. It's Mitch of TheBottomLineView. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to Patreon. That is what I'll be recording next. My best bets for week number 5. Starts at $3. Show support for the channel and support for these videos. Who should you start, Mitch Milani or Kevin Durkant? You know that answer. Peace.